Most landlords near Texas A&M spend months finding the perfect investment property. And then they hand the keys to the wrong tenant, only to learn the hard $20,000 lesson. In this video, I'm breaking down how one poor decision can lead to $20K worth of expense. We're gonna cover my 7-step screening process to avoid problem tenants. And we're gonna talk about the warning signs of a professional tenant and my exact screening criteria. Here's a little spoiler alert, guys. The right process costs almost nothing. The wrong one, well, it can add up to $20,100, and I'm gonna break that down for you in this video, so let's jump in. Here's how I think about it. The most important decision you make as a landlord is the piece of real estate you buy. The second most important, well, that's the tenant that you put in your rental property. And most landlords have this all out of whack. Those landlords will spend 8 weeks analyzing a property. They'll run ARVs, after repair values, check on rental comps, and negotiate the contract down to the most nitnoid, painstakingly insignificant number. Then they get a lead on a tenant. They want to fill that vacancy so bad that they'll approve them in about 20 minutes over one phone call. Think about what you're actually doing here. When you hand someone the keys to your property, you're handing them the keys to your largest investment. Here's the back of the napkin math. Let's say you're renting a house in college. A lot of these single family houses rent for around $2,000. And then the tenant stops paying. 3 months in, now they've skipped. Now you've got 2 months of vacancy while you fill the place back up and find the new tenant. That's 6 months of lost rent, or $12,000. Then you walk in the door. First thing you notice, the floors, they're destroyed. That's $4,000. And you have to paint the whole house because it looks disgusting. $3,000. And of course there's holes in the drywall, because why not? $500. A broken window, $500. Broken appliances, $600. That's $20,100 gone. And I promise you, no rental in Bryan-College station cash flows enough to absorb that kind of hit. So let's talk about how you avoid this major mistake. There's 7 steps and all of them matter. Step 1, we're gonna run this like a business. Before you get your first application, before you get your first lead, you need to have written policies and procedures. This is not about being a professional landlord. This is about being a professional landlord, not an accidental one. Your criteria needs to be decided in advance, and then you need to apply that criteria over every single applicant. This way you're fully compliant with fair housing laws. The last part is critical, guys. Policies and procedures in writing applied the same way to every single tenant is your best defense against the fair housing claim, which is another move that a professional tenant will pull. And this helps you, protects you, not when a complaint happens, but before we ever get to that point. And stick around to the end, and I'll share with you what exact criteria we use to screen our tenants. And again, we use it across our entire portfolio. Your second step will be to advertise your criteria. It's important to put this in your listing. Put it into your inquiry responses and be upfront about it. This does 2 things. 1, it protects you legally on fair housing, because of course you've said exactly how you're going to screen everyone. And 2, well, it weeds out unqualified applicants before they ever waste your time or money. The third step in this process is the pre-screening, and you're going to do it twice before you show. The first time that you pre-screen will be when the person inquires about your property. You'll have a canned response, which should include your criteria. The second time is when that individual actually schedules a showing. We use Calendly, so we send them the link, and before they can book a time with us, it's required that they confirm that they meet or exceed our screening criteria. So by the time someone actually shows up at my rental property to view it for the first time, they've already confirmed twice that they meet or exceed my screening criteria. The fourth step, well, now we screen them during the showing, and this one is underrated. The showing is your chance to look someone right in the eyes and ask about their income, their rental history, their living situation. Ask the uncomfortable questions now in person. One question I like to ask is, who exactly is going to be living here? You would not believe what people will tell you when they're standing in front of you in a property. You'll learn a lot, things that might not come up during the screening process. The 5th step is to process the application. And most property management softwares have an application link, so you can send that link to the potential applicant. Of course, you're going to run a credit check, you're going to run a background check, and then here's the one that most landlords pencil whip or just skip over completely. And that is verifying rental history. Call the past landlords, not just the one they're living with right now, because that landlord might want to get rid of them. They might straight up lie to you. Not every landlord is, good. So the last two landlords though, they're not gonna sugarcoat it. And we're gonna ask them one very important question amongst others, but this question is the one that matters. Would you rent to this person again? That question will tell you everything. The sixth step, well, that's to approve or deny and then not create exceptions. And this is where landlords make the biggest mistake. A prospect comes in just under one of their minimums, let's say the income minimum, but they seem like nice people, they seem motivated to move in. The landlord thinks, well, maybe I'll just take an extra deposit. In my opinion, that's not a good idea. I don't do that. You see, if they don't meet your criteria, you don't approve them. You don't have workarounds, you don't have exceptions, you just stop there. That policy allows me to sleep at night knowing that the people living in my properties actually qualify. No exceptions. And then the last step, step 7, guys, is you keep screening continuously. You see, screening doesn't stop at move-in. I'm always thinking, is this tenant the right person living in the right home right now, today, given their current conditions, their current situations, their current income? If someone is struggling because maybe they had a job change, I want to have that conversation early, before they get behind on payments, before they avoid my calls, before they skip on me in the middle of the night. Let's talk about some red flags real quick, because some of these will let you know that the applicant is a bad fit, while others might hint that this person you're dealing with is a professional tenant. A professional tenant is someone who knows the eviction process better than you. They plan to use your property as a place that they can live for free while they work the system. So here are the 5 flags that I watch out for during the screening process. Flag number 1, they need to move in tomorrow. They're rushing the process. They want to apply now. They want to move in on Tuesday. If they're rushing the move-in, they're gonna rush you to skip steps. And good tenants, well, they plan this stuff out months in advance. If someone needs a place this week, then you've got to ask yourself, what happened to their last place that forced them to need to find a new home this fast? It's a major red flag. The second red flag you want to look out for is they offer to pay a full year's rent up front. And I know initially, to the untrained landlord, this sounds like a dream, but it's not. What happens on month 13? And more importantly, what are they hiding that made them feel like they needed to offer you this incentive of paying up front? It's a red flag. I guarantee you when you dig into this, you're gonna find it's not a great fit for your property. Flag number 3, huge savings, no income. And we're gonna say huge in quotations here, because unless you're retired and you've got Social Security coming in and another $500,000 in the bank, well, then you really don't have enough savings. And in most cases, this huge savings that tenants have, it's like $20,000. Well, that will run out pretty quick. And what happens when that runs out and there's no income coming in? They fall behind in rent and they skip on you. Red flag number 4, the phantom boyfriend. So they mentioned that they have a boyfriend early on in the process, but that person never applies. Or even better yet, they bring this boyfriend to the showing and you ask, hey, are you gonna be living here? Oh, no. He's not gonna be living here. Oh, sure. I don't believe that for a second. So my rule is everyone over the age of 18 living in one of my units will get screened and they will be put on the lease as a tenant every single time. Red flag number 5, they trash talk their last landlord. This is one of my personal favorites. You're sitting across from a prospective tenant and they start running their mouth, complaining about or just flat out talking rudely about their previous landlord. Now let's think about this for a second. This is like showing up to a job interview and spending the first 10 minutes telling your hiring manager what a dickhead your old boss was. What does that tell you about this person? What do you think they're gonna say about you in 6 months after they skipped? Hard pass, not a good fit for my properties and not a good fit for yours either. And then there are the things that aren't flags at all. They're just simply disqualifiers. Any one of these shows up and we're done. No conversations, no exceptions. For example, money owed to a past landlord, an eviction on their record, violent or sexually related felonies on their record, and any kind of fraud-based convictions. Non-negotiable, a simple disqualification. And as promised, here's the criteria that I use for every single one of my tenants. And again, this is what I use. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not giving you specific advice. This is just, hey, me being an open book. So I make sure every single one of my tenants makes 3 times 1 month's rent in income. I make sure they all have a credit score greater than 600. I look at least 2 years worth of rental history, and I want to make sure that we're getting positive remarks from those landlords. Again, would they rent to them again? I make sure that there's no money we owed to any previous landlord, no matter how far back we look. On the criminal side of things, I make sure that we have no felonies for violent or sexually related crimes or fraudulent related crimes. And then we only allow guarantors for students. So if you don't qualify, you don't get a guarantor unless you're a full-time student. This is just one of my rules, guys. Hey, full-grown adults, you got to make the criteria on your own. And then of course, anyone living in the unit over 18 must apply and sign the lease as a tenant. It's that simple. I don't overcomplicate it, and I don't make exceptions. Look, the math is pretty simple. You find a great tenant, you screen them properly, and you keep them for the long term. That's one of the important things here, guys. Find great tenants and keep them happy. Ultimately, it's gonna lower your vacancy rate, increase your ROI, you're gonna be a happier landlord, and that's what we're all about. If you also wanna be a happy landlord, then let's start talking about how we can help you out. Shoot me an email, in the subject line, write self-manage, send it to info@schwartzrealtygroup.com, and we'll start a conversation about how we can grow your wealth through real estate here in Bryan-College Station. For everybody else, like, subscribe, and check out this video right here.